Welcome, everybody. Our guest today is Lori Tabb, founder and CEO of ShiftAffect, an executive coaching company serving both individuals and organizations. Lori's clients include executives from all levels, from the top dogs to even mid-level, and she's not exclusive to just entertainment. She also works with major corporate consumer companies, B2B brands, medical, legal, nonprofits, you name it. Lori's no slouch when it comes to knowing how corporate dynamics and politics work. Before becoming a full-time coach, Lori spent more than 20 years in marketing and advertising and senior level roles, working for and with a ton of amazing companies, including CAA, J. Walter Thompson, Mattel, Hasbro, Southwest Airlines, General Motors, and Coca-Cola, to name a few. That's an amazing list, Lori. Anyway, let's get to it, and welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So as I was rattling off all those great companies during your illustrious career, I wanted to ask you first, what caused you to get into launching your own company and focusing on recruiting? Was there a shift that happened, or what was the decision that made you decide to get into this?
Yeah, to be honest, I had been restless for many years. I loved my clients. I loved my teams. I was, I liked the impact of my work, but I just kept feeling like maybe I was playing a smaller game. And I knew I could do anything I set my mind to. I just didn't have an idea of what I wanted to set my mind to. So I spent some time really diving into my core values, really trying to connect with the things that the most fulfillment, and realized that my entire career, the part I loved best was the people part, whether about building relationships, whether that was about developing teams, chatting with people on my team or clients to ask, what do you really want to do? Sometimes people aren't doing what they really want to be doing, and trying to just dig below kind of the right answer or the politically correct answer or the safe answer to really get to the heart of what it was that people were interested in and what they wanted. And that led to me enrolling in an intensive 15-month career coach training program. And I didn't know going in, to be honest, my expectations were worst case scenario, I'll be a better executive, because I knew that a lot of the coach training programs really were focused on helping the person that was being trained get transformation first. And I was working, I was a chief marketing officer for an IT consulting firm at the time. So it wasn't necessarily on my radar at the moment that I was going to switch careers altogether, but it's like I drank the Kool-Aid. I just was so passionate about it, and I couldn't wait to get home from my day job to coach clients, because a part of the training program I had to have paying clients. And I just found that was where my passion was. And so I decided I just kind of made a commitment and had the courage to jump off the salary cliff. It was the first time I hadn't had the safety of a salary since I graduated from college, and launched this business, and I haven't looked back. I absolutely love it. I love coaching. I love helping people to discover what it is that they want, and helping people to do things that they know they want to do, but they have some sort of a block.
Right.
And seeing that and being able to uncover that is an incredible opportunity. It's an honor.
Oh my gosh. I bet it's incredibly rewarding, as you say, because you're right, there are a lot of blocks that people have. And also I know that feeling when because I've had my own company for a few years now, I think almost 10. And it's great to work for yourself, isn't it? And to know that when you launch that company, you're right, I'm sure it was scary because you're used to the safety net of a salary, but isn't there something incredibly fulfilling to work for yourself, knowing that what you do, that the benefits are done by you, that you
Yeah,
created it?
we don't realize sometimes how many times we're not following what our instincts, we're not following our gut because of, what real or perceived restrictions on us when we're working for a larger organization. And I spent my whole career working for very large companies. And so it's a complete shift, and just very exhilarating.
That's great. Well, let's talk for just a minute about what people should be doing right now. Because I feel like some people are kind of in a pause mode during this pandemic, and they think, well, maybe people aren't hiring, but I happen to be of the opinion that there's covert hiring going on, and people need to get ready now more than ever You might not see a lot of jobs advertised, but there is hiring. And I just wondered, am I right on this? What's your feeling? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing. And, on both sides of that, right? Both the tendency to hide and to pause, and the reality that there are positions out there. And also, the fact that we need to be ready so that when these positions, more of them start to open up, we're there and ready to be the ones that are being considered first. Paulo Coelho says you don't drown by following into a river, but staying submerged in it. And I think that, we all have an opportunity to make a choice about how we want to respond to whether it's the health crisis, the economic crisis, the social crisis. There's a lot of that that we're all sitting in the middle of right now. And in many ways, this might be the best time to be telling your story, to share your value, to tell organizations and others what it is that you have to offer. And we see organizations are making institutional changes, things that they knew they needed to be doing, but they weren't doing it because things were going well and they were afraid to rock the apple cart. And now they're saying, oh, we have a little bit of cover. We're going to make some big structural changes. We're going to do some things differently. And I think the opportunity exists both for companies to think differently in this time and for individuals to think, about what our opportunity is for them, because the rules have all changed, and that's an opportunity.
They have to. I love that you said that. I agree with you. They have changed. And I think companies are using COVID, if you will, as kind of the umbrella for them to really think about making these changes in their organizations and switching things around and changing roles and not doing things the same old way, because we can't do things the same old way. It's a new world. It shifted, it changed, and we have to embrace that and recognize that. But as you said, that means there's openings. That means there's opportunities.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Do you think that it's when people think about going back to their jobs,
Mm-hmm.
I've encouraged people to really start getting their mindset around that a little bit, because it can be overwhelming. I mean, I think about, sometime when you go back after like Christmas break, and that's, for me, it's a week, for others, it's 2 weeks or whatever. And even that can be like so disorienting. So imagine how it's going to be for some of these employees when they go back to work that first day or that first week, if they haven't eased into it. Do you
Yeah.
agree? What should we do? How do we, not that we're quite there yet, but I feel like that day is going to come sooner than later.
Yeah, it will. And I think it's coming in different ways for different companies. Some people are rushing back or attempting to rush back to the same way that it was, and others are looking at different paradigms. One of the things I think for us as individuals is that our former work selves, we had rituals, whether it was a morning commute to Starbucks or, dropping kids off at school, or grabbing a drink after work. We had rituals that kind of defined the beginning and the end of a workday. And in many ways, we've been in this limbo for a long time. When this started in March, it was a pause, and it felt very temporary. And now that we've been resting in it for a bit, it's starting to kind of take hold. I have a client who, she takes a virtual commute every morning. She leaves the house, she spends 30 minutes, and she goes to Starbucks and picks up her coffee. She listens to her favorite podcasts, and then she comes back to the house and starts her workday. And that's a ritual that she's created for herself to create, a true start and end to a business day. And I think being mindful of creating a clear separation is going to be really important, because we've gotten used to these very different patterns. And in some cases, we've lost all sense of boundaries. We're working at night on the couch because we have gotten used to that, and we're doing all kinds of
Right.
things that really aren't going to serve us over the long term. Um, but
No, you're so right. I love that you said that, because I was having a tough time after a couple months working at home, and I was struggling and I couldn't figure out, like, what is it? I mean, I have everything set up, technology was fine. I was in the dining room. Everything was good, except that I just was having a really tough time. And it finally dawned on me. It was because there was day went into night, went into the next day, went into the next day, went into the weekend, went into the next. There was no demarcation between anything, and that was beginning to do a number on me.
yeah,
So that's why I started coming into a friend of mine said, you should go into the office a couple hours once a week, like ease into it. And then, because it's just me in the office. And so it was safe and I didn't have to worry about that part of it. But mentally, it did so much for my mental health, if you will, just to get that ritual back in some way. I was 10 times more productive.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I think another thing for us to consider is who do we want to be at work?
Mm,
We focus so much on what we want to do and getting things done and that kind of thing. But how we feel about our work and our self is really dependent on how we get to show up. And so, what are the qualities and values that you want to honor in that work self? We've all learned a little bit about ourselves being home, being, with other people. Maybe we're, at home with a full house, so to speak, or maybe we've spent a lot of time alone. And in either case,
right.
we've probably learned a little more about ourselves. And so there's an opportunity really to leverage that learning and to say, this is how I'm going to be when I'm at work
Are
moving.
there certain qualities that you're referring to be a fantastic, a great, really great employee? What do you mean?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of it too. I love Pat Lencioni's work, and he talks about to be the ideal team player. The three core qualities are being hungry, humble, and smart. And smart really is about emotional intelligence versus intellectual intelligence. And those really, when you put those three together, those are the characteristics that really inspire others, that make great collaborators, that create really good work. And so, one of the things that I have had some conversations with clients around is which one of those three are you lacking a bit of? Maybe you're really hungry and you're smart EQ wise. You can tell how people are, reading. You can read the room pretty well, but you're not humble. Your agenda is all about you, and you end up leaving a lot of dead bodies in your trail. And so is that something that feels good, and is that something that's going to reward you over the long term? Some people might be humble, and they might be really well aware of other people, but they're not hungry. They're just not working that hard. They're not going the extra mile. And so if you just take those kind of three principles and think about what's my third, what's the one that I'm, least strong in, and spend some time working on that, it really can go a long way towards making you indispensable. And that's what we want, right? We want security, and we want to know that our jobs are going to be there and that we're safe in our roles. And that's a place to find some certainty in the midst of so much uncertainty.
Right. I love that. Hungry, humble, and smart.
Yeah.
Um, Talk one more second about the smart part. I get the hungry part. I get the humble part. Now, can you just elaborate just a little bit on the smart part,
Yeah.
the emotional intelligence part of
Yeah,
it?
it's recognizing, the impact that your words and actions have on others, and being aware of that, being able to read the room, being able to really experience and know how people are feeling about the choices that you're making, the decisions that you're making, the way in which you're communicating decisions that are being made for the organization. And some of that, leans into what, you and I spoke about a little bit, which is just this idea of this is a crazy time right now, and we need to really be checking in with each other. Really, really checking in. And when I say checking in, it's not just a casual, hey, how are you? Great, I'm good, fine. It's really digging in, asking more questions to find out, how are you really? And if someone says they're fine and they're great, A, not sure you should believe them
Mm-hmm.
again, right? And B, maybe they are today, but that doesn't mean that they are tomorrow, because so much is changing, and we're also impacted by the changes that we're experiencing right now and the uncertainty that we're experiencing, that it can be like a roller coaster, and we can be feeling great one day and emotional and breaking down the next day, without notice. And it's important for us as colleagues, as a work community, to be checking in with each other and being there
Right.
to support each other.
I agree. And I think even if you're struggling and having a hard time, it doesn't mean that you can't be there for someone else. Sometimes the best way to get out of your own um, your own space is by being of service and helping someone. And you'd be surprised, your empathy can go a long way. And as you said, it's just really paying attention and listening, even though you're doing it by email. But there's certain keywords that'll tell you how someone's really doing,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
I was kind of, just to go back to that one sec, Lord, when I was having a tough time before I came back to work, and a couple people are like, I hope you're safe and well. Personally, I'm not a fan of that. I think if you're going to send an email and really check in with someone, have it really be authentic. I hope you're safe and well has just been overused and overdone.
Right.
So whether you say something like, just checking in to see how you're doing during this crazy time, or whatever it is you say. It has to be your words from your heart, but put just a tiny bit of thought into it, because when I see "Hope you're safe and well," to me that's just like a standard greeting. Do
Yeah,
you agree?
I do. I think even stay safe and well.
Or
Oh,
safe, yeah,
thank you for giving me that. I'll stay safe and well, right?
yeah.
I think what you said, to go back to what you said, being authentic, you really can lean into how you're feeling. How are you experiencing this? And that's then the sentiment to share, right? If it feels chaotic, if it feels crazy, then that's your experience, and you can ask people how they're feeling about it, and they may have a different experience, but being vulnerable and sharing how the experience is um, impacting you is a great place to start those conversations. What does it mean to be in these uncertain times? What does it mean, to be in a full house? What does it mean to, have, to be by yourself that much time, all the time?
Going back to the thing you said about being indispensable
Mhm.
and coupling that with the reaching out part, would you recommend an email to your boss, uh, your boss, to say, checking in, and is there anything I can do to help you? I don't know. Do you think that that's a good idea? Do you think it's a little too ass kissy, or what's
Uh,
your feeling about it?
I think, if it's genuine, it's a great idea. I think that we assume sometimes that the boss has it all figured out,
Mm,
or that the boss doesn't want any help, or that the boss isn't struggling. And just seeing them and their role and the responsibility that's on their shoulders, and saying, I'm here if I can be useful. Do you want a brainstorming partner? Is there anything I can do to help, ease other people in? Do you want me to plan an activity? Whatever it is that's kind of your thing, right? Offering that up and just saying, how are you feeling about us going back? What's on your mind? Can be really
yeah,
valuable, in that relationship and building that relationship too, because everybody's feeling isolated. I mean, everybody's feeling isolated. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in a full house or not. People are not connected to their work, mates and their business partners in the ways that they have been. And just feeling that connection can go a long, long way.
agreed. Also, our bosses are going to be leading differently when we go back. I mean, we've gotten so accustomed to Zooms and this very intimate, up close and personal kind of meeting, and it's going to be different for them as well as the employee. There's no question about it. But I think from a leadership standpoint, um, it's really going to be a test to the many. Do you agree?
I absolutely do, and I think when you say they're going to be leading better, differently, they need to be leading differently. There's no option really to keep doing business as usual. You mentioned Zoom. Zoom fatigue is real, and
Yeah,
that what we're talking about really taps into, um, you know, being able to get everybody's contributions in whatever it is that we're doing, bringing people together to be aligned on a singular vision and a set of values for that team or that organization. Whether you're an introvert and you're happy that you're working from home, you may not be so happy that you're looking at a gallery of Zoom view all day. And, there are people that are sitting on these Zoom calls 8 hours, 9 hours a day,
yeah.
back to back to back. And that is exhausting. Even extroverts who like to be around people a lot are not finding that that is a really valuable way to be spending all of our time. And
It's sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say I was talking to someone who was having some eye issues because we're not used to staring at a screen for hours and hours and hours. And
Yeah.
it's this focus, because we're used to getting up and walking to the bathroom or in an office or talking to someone down the hall or going to meet someone for lunch or coffee or something. And so many people are just focused on that screen endlessly. And I think, does a number on your eyes and your brain.
It does for sure. It does a number on your eyes and your brain and your, your emotional mindset and how you're feeling as well. And sometimes we don't even know that that's the cause. And in fact, that is, what's happening for us. And I think regardless of whether we, in kind of when we go back, so to speak, if we're a dispersed team or whether everybody comes back to the office, it's really critical for leaders to create safe contribution environments. Some people need time to process information and then share their ideas. Other people start spouting ideas before you even finish asking the question. And yet we know that true innovation and true collaboration requires that we have the benefit of diverse voices and ideas. And it can't be accomplished if leaders aren't creating the right environments. And I think some leaders have stepped into this new environment in a really great way. And I think others have some work to do in order to
Mm,
ensure that their leadership has impact.
right. Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, it is a new world. That is for sure. But I love what you said about really recognizing your value and being indispensable, and using this time to focus on, the parts of you that may not be quite as developed as the other parts. Hungry, humble, and smart. If someone wanted to work with you, Lori, how would they go about it? And how does that work? Is it a package? Is it individual? I'm just curious how it works in your world of coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I say just reach out to me because I have a variety of different ways that I engage with clients. It depends on kind of what their needs are. Sometimes it's a package that'll be, 3, 6 months while we're working on a certain set of goals. And other times it'll be kind of a jumpstart program where it's all about interview preparation or it's all about kind of cracking your elevator pitch or something like that.
Mm.
But those are a few different ways and groups and working with organizations, it's really custom tailored to whatever the needs of the group are. What are we trying to achieve? What are the specific dynamics of the leaders that will be participating in the coaching and developing programming for them?
Well, I think especially now more than ever, people sometimes are having to pivot and switch careers and kind of reinvent. I know I've used a lot of buzzwords in that. I didn't mean to overload it, but you see where I'm going. People have to really think differently because the jobs that they may have had for years may not exist in that exact same way. And I think with someone like you might help them to redefine a little bit what who they are and what their news story is and what value they can provide. I think sometimes we don't realize the great asset that we are until someone else points it out.
Absolutely. And I think that it's a gift really to be able to see yourself and to know what it is that you really want and to be really firm and clear about what works for you and to be able to take that out into the world. It's incredibly valuable to the world, but also to us as individuals.
Well, gosh, I've loved having you with us today. I just so appreciate you taking the time to join us and share some of your just your the way you look at things. You just have a great perspective, and I think anybody that worked with you would be super lucky. So we're very fortunate to have you join our little group today, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Madeline. It's been
Okay.
great.
Bye, everybody. See you later.